Why are over 100 English schools closing down? Welcome to Mark and Pete. Here's a thought.
The concrete facts. There's mumbling and fumbling and grumbling as classrooms around the country are tumbling. And there's rumbling from government bumbling, which proves education in England is crumbling.
Yes.
I'm afraid so, yes. Just days before the start of the new school year, more than 100 schools in England have been told to shut their buildings. And this is due to safety measures because of concrete that is used to reinforce certain buildings. Now, what's interesting is the concrete in question is reinforced autoclaved or aerated concrete, RAAC, or RAC is a lightweight material that primarily was used back in the 1950s. And it's been used for floors, walls, and so on, all the way through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and indeed even the 1990s. Why? Because quite simply, it was cheap. And it was an alternative method to standard concrete, which of course is quicker and stronger. But the thing here is, of course, it was only meant to be used as a temporary measure. Yeah. Well, Clergyman Pete, safety concerns are paramount. So you as a parent, what do you think about the state of schools today? More importantly, what should be done by the government?
Well, of course, I am concerned if a building is actually unsafe. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that it's crept up on them. The reason I'm not very surprised is that what it does is it seems like incompetence for the Conservative government. I would say that's not surprising, but what is surprising is the extent of the number of schools that have had to close. It seems like there's something else going on here. But yeah, am I concerned? Well, I'm concerned that long term they need to do something to sort it out. I don't think they need to sort them all out in one go. I just don't believe that you need to close 100 schools. You could just do a handful a year and sort it out gradually. They're not suddenly more dangerous this year than they were last year. They're incrementally more dangerous because as time goes on they will crumble. That's what we've heard. So that's what I would do. Of course, politically, maybe you can't do that because you'd be seen responsible if now you know you don't take action. But the sensible thing to do would be to gradually implement replacement buildings over time.
Well, indeed. In fact, the temporary measures are as follows. Either they're going to bring in simple Portakabins, or they're going to have to force the children to work from home and have virtual classes. Now, of course, we saw that during the pandemic, where schools were actually closed down and children went home. But here's the thing. Because when you actually look back through history, the concrete in question, this sort of aero-like chocolate bubbly type of substance, is really something that has caused differences amongst engineers for many, many years. In fact, as far back as 1961, many engineers were concerned about the use of the material. The Institute for Structural Engineers said in a report that there has been some serious differences in the traditional concrete and the use of, obviously, this one in question. Now, one of the reasons why is that this particular substance has concerns is if you get short-term exposure to moisture.
Yes.
So think of it like a little chocolate bar. Of course, if it gets moist, it gets damp, it gets soggy, and it starts to decay. And of course, what can happen is its strength is lost, and then when it starts to not only become structurally damaging, it also pollutes the air. So here's the other thing that hasn't been discussed. It's actually something that can affect people's respiratory disorders, and that is an equal concern. Now, I would have to say, this is just my take on it, I understand from a business point of view, I'll come from that side. When anybody is looking at trying to sort of invest in a school, these civil projects, these engineering projects take time. They take time to plan. They take time to build. And of course, ultimately, what you're looking for is something that if you are going to invest in materials and in schooling, education should be a long-term initiative.
Yes.
Why on earth that anyone would have even considered using this type of material, to
Yes.
me, is a bit strange. And so really what must have happened, even back in the 1950s and 1960s, they were compromising. They were thinking short-term. Now, of course, one thing that has happened is we have had a population explosion since the 1950s. Now, here's the other take on this, just from my side. What do we do about it? Well, I think we've got ourselves into a rather ignominious position because, yes, why? Well, Jeremy Hunt, who is our Chancellor of the Exchequer, has said and gone on record that he will spend what it takes to make schools safe from crumbling concrete. Well, yet again, here we go. We're already in a national debt. And Clergyman Pete, I ask you, is this actually a sensible policy? Is there any way around this? Surely we're not another bottomless pit here.
The answer is what I hinted at. No, I suppose he said earlier, which is to do it gradually. I think it's the only way. It makes absolute sense to grade some of the schools of these 100 as being more risk than others. I'm just not buying it. Now, that's what I believe should be done. You see, it just seems very odd. Something slightly doesn't pass the smell test of why these schools are all having to be closed down. We had lockdowns. We got possibly more lockdowns due to the new variant of COVID for climate change, and now because of bubbly concrete. Yeah, it just seems like someone out there doesn't want the kids in Britain to have a good education. Something's going on. It
does seem strange, doesn't it? You have to ask yourself.
You have to question it, yeah.
Well, how have we even got to this position? Because I think that it's about timing, isn't it? I know, without sort of going into individuals' personal experience, but many, many thousands, if not tens of thousands of parents have watched their children education being completely disrupted because of the lockdown. We're now in a situation where things were, we thought, getting back to normal. Well, what is normal in this society anymore? But the crucial thing is to disrupt anybody's education at a crucial time, whether it's at the beginning of a semester, whether it's at the end of a semester, either way, you want continuity and you want teachers to have a safe environment so that they can actually encourage the children to learn their subjects and do well. In fact, as we know, and we saw this, Clergyman Pete, very recently, some of the education grades that were declared during the summertime have already showed that the standards have dropped. So surely there is another side to this, dare I say, to Gillian Keegan, who is the Education Secretary. It's time to pull your finger out because things are not going well, are they? Now, I know that what the government will say is that this isn't just under their tenure over the last 13 to 14 years, it's decades before. Well, surely then therein was an opportunity to do something about this.
Yes.
Well, I think, and so I would say is that, and here's the connect, you were a teacher as well. From a teacher's perspective, this is surely another blow to helping them to provide a sensible service.
Well, yes, if you look at how education is being treated, it's been treated very politically. Now, when the national curriculum was being developed, there was a move. In fact, the initial forms of the national curriculum were very different from traditional ways of teaching. They were done based on different areas of teaching were based on skills rather than subject area. There's a whole new way of teaching, but it was just impossible to do politically. People wanted their traditional areas. They didn't want people to use analytical skills and then apply them to all of life. They wanted science and history, and they wanted these separate subjects. And I'm not taking sides on that because although I can see the importance of critical thinking, I think you are better off having these traditional subjects. They became traditional for a reason because that's the way that we can better make sense of the world. Have the subject areas put together. But that being said, neither was done. Neither pushing forward with the traditional method, nor the new method. So you end up with the worst of both worlds. And that's what we've ended up with. And so I think it's right at a core level. Now, in terms of the buildings that support this, over the years we've seen boom and bust. New buildings are built for a growing population, then they're closed down when there aren't enough children, forgetting that these things come in waves. How can they forget that? Their short-termism is incredible. So this sort of thing has been going on for a long time, for decades and decades, as you pointed out. No long-term planning. And, will it be done? Probably not. But yes, it should be. So when replacing these schools with bubbly concrete, there should be long-term plans made to have those schools maybe be multi-use so that they can effectively stay open, stay as maintained building even when the number of kids go down, so they're not in use. Then they can be brought back online again. That needs to be done. Something like that needs to be done. Some clever thinking. Will it be done?
Well,
probably not.
Here's the other thing, just as a close out from my side, which is that we've mentioned that just over 100 schools were certainly identified for immediate closure. Well, some reports are alluding to the fact that over 7,000 schools ultimately could be at risk as well. So think about that. That's a lot of schools.
Yeah.
But it doesn't end there, folks, because guess what? The materials that we've been talking about, that's right, you'll get to hear about it a lot more, which of course is this reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete is also used in hospitals. So there are many other buildings that could be under threat. Well, Clergyman Pete, I wonder what our listeners think, particularly those who are about to prepare to go to school or those who work in schools.
Yes, and those who work in hospitals. Let us know. Get in touch with the show. Make sure you've subscribed by going to markandpete.com. Just check there. Then you can leave a comment on this and every episode. But for Mark and myself, it's bye for now. Catch you next time.